RTD Live Talk, a quick, somewhat quick late night check-in. Wanted to just follow up in reference to the survey I put out earlier. As I mentioned, I was going to try to do a little live stream this evening, so I figured I'd get on for a quick minute and share with you the results. Some of you guys can see the results when you check in, but just want to get an idea as to what's some of the things that interest you most, as we are all anticipating, as the survey mentioned, that in the next 10 years or less, there's going to be some drastic changes with our monetary system, and they're all underway right now. So the worst thing is for those to be caught by surprise. But of course, if you are in the alternative media space, then you know what's going on, you know what's happening behind the scenes. So you're not going to be surprised. But for those that are aware and awake and taking action of some form, as far as preserving their financial futures, taking action to your own hands, I put out a little survey earlier with a couple categories of just some of the more common asset classes that I think more people are familiar with and actually positioned in, more so than some of the more technical things that I personally don't cover myself, just because I don't think it's really needed, other than just some of the basic things as a hedge against the collapse of the Federal Reserve note, as well as other currencies, depending on what country you're in. But as always, people just want to check in. Appreciate everybody for just for chiming in. And I'm also streaming on Facebook for the first time, so it's something different. So not sure what's going on there, but I got about 1,000 people part of that community as well. So if that being the case, in the chat, let me know if you had a chance to take the survey. Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you did have a chance to take it or didn't, and what are your thoughts? Because as the option 5, so the 5 options, I can give you that. Option 1 was metals. Option 2 was cryptocurrency. Option 3, stocks and bonds. The 4th one is real estate. And the 5th one is others, and then explain below. And so out of approximately close to 300 people took the time to click on an answer. So I appreciate you guys for doing such. And so Spirit King says, no, he didn't. And so let me see here. I got Lima, Peru. Chad Parks from Lima, Peru. How you doing, my friend? Thanks for tuning in. How are things down in Peru? Are you from Peru, or are you just passing through, or vacation and visiting, working? What's the situation like in Peru? I've flew through there before, never actually had a chance to leave the airport and hang out. So we'd love to find out your thoughts on that down there. And so Blunt News says only one option. Okay, so basically, as I mentioned, I gave you guys a 5, but they're simple. Metals is 1, 2 cryptocurrency, 3 stocks and bonds, 4 real estate, 5 others, and then explain why. And so for those that did have a chance to take the survey, share with me. What are your thoughts on your preferred choice? If there's any particular order, feel free to do so in the chat. But I also share with you my picks, if you guys want to find out. And then when it comes to others, that's what I more so wanted to check in with tonight and see what exactly people refer to as others for those that explain. So I'm going to read through some of those and get people's thoughts again about what's going on. And so I think that this year especially definitely it's always a good time. And that's why I always personally never focus on the price of any of these asset classes, because in comparison to what's coming, as far as the policies that will be in place that will cause what we all consider some hyperinflationary or very extreme inflationary environments, I want to say that the price of all these assets, even though like the housing market might be in a bubble, there will be a correction. But then after that, at the end of the day, it's not so much the price that I'm concerned with, it's the physical possession of these assets in my own hands, or in my own ownership. And so price wise, I think the price of anything that's somewhat in limited supply, or there's a finite amount of them, will go up in value anomaly as well, just because of the amount of currency that's going to be in circulation down the line. And so with that being the case, I want to check in. Let me see. It says bad weather for a meetup this week. Totals. Yeah, man. So as far as a meetup, I haven't really been pushing it. I put it out there. Haven't got much of a response. So I might end up putting it off a little bit. No big deal. I just wanted to live up to my end of the bargain by putting something together and seeing who shows up. So I'm going to keep pushing. And if anybody show up, we'll definitely get it going. If not, I just sit down and have a meal with me and my wife. So it's all good. It says silver you can pick up on. It says retire at United States offer. I live there. Okay, retired. That's what it is, man. That's nice. It says this company has gold-backed cryptocurrency coins. Go to, hey, Marshall, my friend, appreciate you for sharing that. And so basically just carrotsbar.com. Definitely, they have a lot of good things going on there. So I personally, I'm a part of that as well. I'll be introducing more of that information to people as well. So it's one of the things where they have a lot of activity going on. But my opinion for those that's been tuning in for a while, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And so I'm one of them things where I'm learning to get away or trying to get away from the middleman. It's either I have it in my possession or I don't have it. And if I don't have it, then to me, it's more speculative to where, I'm not going to bank on it, put it like that. And so, but definitely I've been doing some research, and so I do like what I see. So I'm going to definitely, as I get more involved, I will definitely shine more light onto that. So, but as always, it has a two folds to it. Talking in regards to the whole Care Bar situation, it's the affiliate aspect where you can become a partner, associate, and be able to utilize the business side of things, or you can just be a consumer and acquire goods and services in the form of metals directly. So either way, you can't lose because it's all about having possession of physical metals in the end. It says, why aren't people buying oil barrels as assets nice to have in your garage? Spirit King, buying oil barrels. Water containers, water storages, sure, but empty oil barrels, I'm not too familiar with that. So Spirit, do you yourself have a garage full of oil barrels, or do you know of people? Hello, Donna. How you doing? Donna from Houston. Appreciate you joining me on the Facebook. So as I mentioned, I got Facebook and YouTube going at the same time. First time trying it, but appreciate you guys chiming in. So for those that might be watching on Facebook, put out a little survey. I put the link in the description. Go take a quick peek at it and select your preferred method of asset hedge against a dying petrodollar. And so this year especially, man, I'm going to be doing more things to try to reach out to people who are not in this fold. Like, it's one thing to go back and forth with people who are familiar and anticipating and expecting, but majority of the world, overwhelming majority of the world have no clue as to what's going on right now. And those are the people that I think we have to reach. So with that being the case, I personally want an individual, but yet, so definitely I'll be calling upon you guys to help out. But with, and I thought about it. I'm going to be working on my another ebook in the month of February, and it's going to be about the subject matter of retirement. And so I'm trying to come up with a good title. Like I have all types of thoughts as far as the contents wise and what I'm going to look to prove. And so, if you guys have any ideas on what would be a good ebook, and the gist of it is, you're not going to be able to retire comfortably. That's what it's going to be about. So I'm gonna try to go through that book and list all the things that I've written down that basically would tell people that you will not be able to retire comfortably. And then I got all types of ways I'm going to try to prove it with some stats and stuff like that, some graphs. But that's going to be an ebook that I think should get people's attention. And even if I want the title and the artwork going to be very nice. But yet, even if it's something that people read and be like, man, this guy's out of his mind. Okay, I don't mind, but I want to get your attention. So I'm hoping that a title that's catchy, that draws out emotion and concern will get people to just open it. And then if you open it, go through it, dissect it, prove me wrong. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong. I don't have to be right. I just want to get your attention. And so it says, we got some titles here. It says, your retirement parachute. Okay. It says, if you can't retire after 40 years of working, then people never saved. Okay, so is that a title, or is this what? Retirement, the uncertain future, Spirit King. A systemically cashing mine out of now. Cashing mine out now. I'm systemically cashing mine out now. Okay, Jeremy, so you say you're cashing out. Okay. It says, what would be the best thing to do with a 401k right now? Total cat capers. Now watch this. I can't give financial advice. That's not my thing. I'm more so I consider myself a monetary enthusiast, a monetary advisor. I talk about monetary history. I do everything from framework of looking back in the past, seeing how we arrived at this point, and then it makes it easier to predict the future. And then in doing so, look at everybody around us country-wise that's going through troubles that we will go through ourselves. But I will recommend a book to you. And so it's a book called 401 Chaos by Andy Tanner. So it's the numbers 401, parentheses, KAOS, chaos, as in like, chaos, not 401k, but 401 Chaos by Andy Tanner. You can go Google that right now. And the book was written, he's a Robert Kiyosaki advisor, but the book was written maybe 6-7 years ago, but it's relevant because he tells people why your 401k and all those conventional financial vehicles are not going to be there, and they're not what you think they are. So I highly recommend that book. And so 401 Chaos by Andy Tanner, it's free PDF file online, or you can buy the hard copy, but the information is so important, he gives it away for free. And so it says, been cashing out on my little stock and my little 401k because I don't want it to vanish. Angela. Yeah, man. And that's the thing. And so I actually attempted to, let me try this. I wanted to pull up something because not everybody, but a good portion of people may have seen it before, but it has to do with the categories of risk. And I think it's important for everybody to see, because it's not necessarily, this is not my opinion. This is more so a central banker who came up with the John Exter pyramid. And if you look at that pyramid, you get a chance to see pretty much all the options that we have that we consider assets, and and just the tier of options that we all have. So here's that visual aid here I'm talking about. And so for those that are, let me see, I got a lot of light here. But this is John Exter's pyramid all the way from, and so the further you go up this inverted pyramid, the further away you get from real tangible, long-term historical money. And so the very bottom is gold, but yeah, even lower than that on other pyramids is silver. But the thing is, the further up you go, the more risk you take on, and the greater the chance, rather, of you being caught up in this paper, digital, all financially gimmicks, basically. I mean, because they're everything above here is all based upon new, fresh, dumb money coming in. And so that's the whole idea of keeping your money in the institutions. I mean, this is all these stuff here. So a lot of people might be familiar with it, but you got the furthest away from sound money or historical real money. You got gold. Then you got the paper money from a central bank. Then you got government debt, which then goes back to the paper money, treasury bills. Then you got your listed stocks, and you got securitized debt. And you got your corporate and municipal bonds. So listed stocks, equities, stock market. So that's the middle tier of this risk pyramid here. And so those are all things that have so many counterparty risks. The further you go up, the more risk you take on. And so, that's why I'm not a big promoter or fan of the whole financial model that people are spewing these days, because after the Great Recession, all the what I consider new common sense monetary practices that the central banks no longer follow have all gone out the window. So people right now are basically gambling, man. I believe, in my opinion, keeping your money in those type of products, you're gambling. And it's one thing to be uninformed and not know, but if you do know, and if you have a suspicion that it may not be there, or may not be able to get access to it when you need it, you are gambling, in my opinion. Says Mike, 200 years ago, one man earned enough to sustain a family. Then it became necessary for two people to work. Now it's the time for retirement becomes a relic of the past. Spirit King. Hell, Spirit, you said 200 years ago, one man earned enough to sustain a family. It wasn't 200 years ago. To my knowledge, according to, let me see. Here we go. I got another visual aid right here. Got visual aids everywhere. And so watch this. And this is another little visual aid. I did a video on that. And so I might touch on some points tonight. I got it. I'm going down the list, but it didn't take 200 years, my friend. Back in this era here, 1933, a man was able to go to work. His wife stayed at home. How many ever kids you want? And if you haven't noticed, the demographics wise, my generation, we're not having kids like, your great grandparents probably had. And that's not by coincidence, that's by the idea that, as the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, the cost of living goes up, because it takes more units of currency to acquire our daily needs. And so you just don't have that I know a lot of people, include myself, is like, you think about expanding your family, depending on where you at, depending on what your long-term ambitions are and all that stuff like that. Most people say, 2, 3, 4, that's enough. Ain't too many people now that is willingly having 6, 7 kids. But I'm sure some people out here might be in that line of activity. But because, just the cost. So it wasn't even 100 years ago. It was, 50, 60, 70 years ago. And so if I have any older individuals in the chat right now that might be watching, and you are familiar with the increased cost of life as time has gone on for you, and you recall some things, feel free to let me know in the chat, because, I wasn't around, back all there. So I don't know, but I do love reading the newspapers from back in that era. And what I've gathered, you can do a lot for a buck back there, whereas now you can't do much for nothing with a buck. So Basement said, wait, because no kids for me. 200 years ago, we had slavery. What's the point? Yeah. So yeah. And so if we were to go down that route, as far as being, black man 200 years ago, yeah, you wasn't free, and we didn't have much of a choice. My ancestors rather didn't have much of a choice or say so in that matter. But for those in the North that perhaps were free, they were probably working as a carpenter, a shoesmith, whatever the titles they had back then, for maybe 50 cents a day. But could take care of your family. You could have 5 or 6 kids making $1 a day. Now, yeah, depending on your lifestyle, what part of the country, if you're in California on the East Coast, West Coast, you need a lot more than $1 a day. It says, I remember my uncle paying 56 cents a gallon for gas. Man, I remember, Tony, that's a good one, man. I remember when I first got my license, gas wasn't $1 yet. And I remember, I love me some older cars. So I had a 1980 something Oldsmobile Cutlass. It was nice and clean. I used to fill it up for like $15. And I was geeked. It says, and even after slavery, blacks were paid half the wages that whites got. Very true. So according to this graph here, I did some research and got the averages. And so the average hourly wage was 33 cents in 1913 on average. They had a lot more industries to select from to actually come up with somewhat of an average. But if you were just a general laborer, you was roughly, 33 to 50 cents an hour. Yeah, so that's pretty much. And then as time went on, think about the hourly wage, 33 cents. Think about what you could have done. You know what I'm saying? It was a single parent, I'm gonna say a single parent, but a single worker household. You probably had kids. Your lifestyle wasn't, the greatest, but you were able to do some things. Whereas now, yeah, it ain't that easy. It ain't that easy. But the whole conversation for tonight, before I get all sidetracked, Mike says $1 purchase more, but now we make more is a wash, right? Purple Sky Limit. So the $1 purchase more and now we make more, but that's not necessarily, it hasn't been a beneficial thing, because as the purchasing power of the dollar has gone down, it costs more units of currency to acquire things, but you factor in the minimum wage, or there wasn't a minimum wage till like in this time frame here, the whole idea of a living wage come into play, because the cost of, after the 60s and 50s, that's when the whole idea of like, we need to establish a wage, because the costs are going up much higher than people are getting paid. So that's when we actually started to get the whole living wage / hourly wage. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they only go back to 1940s or 50s, according to the government, that them keeping records. So everything I got back here, everything I got from 1953 and on, I had to calculate with that in my hands. So I had to go look for sources to get those averages, because I was able to find this information up here relatively easy, but everything back here I had to do by hand, because that stuff was not readily available. So the point in case is, you make more now, and so you would say that, okay, it washes it out a little bit. No, because think about this. If you just look at the cost of things in general. So nowadays, if you made, say, this graph here in 2013, where I stopped it at, the average hourly wage for manufacturers or whatever skilled labor was $15 an hour, 2013, the average. But after that, it's like 20 something now, 21, $22 now. But think about how many hours you have to work just to get, you have to work, you factor in the hours. So here, and this is in relation to trying to get to $1 million. You got to work 64,000 hours, not including tax, just to get to the idea of $1 million. That takes, I calculate that's like 40 years. That's about 40 years right there. So the whole 40 years of work, that's not including taxes. So making $15, you couldn't get to $1 million. And so here's the thing. Back then, because of overall general cost of living, house, room, board, food, all that stuff, your current basket of goods, say your monthly housing expenses, whatever your monthly housing expenses are, including your, just whatever it is. So say whatever I don't know, just as in general, say if it's, your monthly, including your mortgage, all that, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, say $5,000, whatever that is. And so that's just to live now, hopefully comfortably. But yet you take those same amenities at the same living standard relative, to middle class, whatever that could have been back then, that probably cost a month. At this current type of income earned, maybe $100, maybe $100 a month. You know what I'm saying? So $100 a month, you probably could live comfortably without excess strain, working the same type of hours, and you still have some change over. You know what I'm saying? Like, as of now, you need 5,000 and climbing, because now we got more on top of that, internet bill, cell phone bill, but you could get more bang for your buck. So no, it's not a wash, because the buck did more for you back then, whereas now a buck doesn't do much for you. You need more bucks to kind of stay afloat. And that's where we're coming into problems, because most people don't have access to just, have the type of funds or earn the type of funds to be able to maintain a living standard that's sustainable. Nevertheless, something that's, enjoyable and comfortable with, with free time, because people now have to work more hours now. Like, you may have 2 jobs now and, earning something that, may or may not stretch you out. But then that's not even talking about having to save something, invest something, and travel and enjoy your life. So, yeah, so it's a big difference. It says Mike Bezos makes in an hour enough to pay each of Amazon's 500,000 employees $45 an hour. Spirit King, Mike Bezos is doing his thing. That man had an idea, started in his garage, turns it into a multi-billion dollar business. More power to him. And that's the thing. This dude, he's disrupting the retail, disrupting the getting the communication. I'm sure he got a Amazon phone coming soon. He's disrupting everything. He's gonna be compete with the Walton family pretty soon, trying to take out Walmart. Jeremy, that's Ron says. Why don't you really own stock seller with? You don't really own stock seller when which is a fan of DC owns it. DTCs, yeah. So Jeremy, that's another one. Yeah. So not too many people talk about that. I believe Mr. Big Swear, he's a guy that focuses on that a lot. Other than just having heard him speak about it, I had never dived into it. And I want to say that DTCC owns a lot more than just equity. So it says I own my stocks. You can still get the paper. Okay, so purple sky. So if you can still get the paper to show that you own X amount of whatever company, that's great. But you got to think about majority of Americans and majority of investors in general don't even know that's an option if it really is. And then at the end of the day, as always, when things correct and stocks go down to fair value, you take away all that funny money, corporate buyback, all that excess liquidity that's been pumped in because of this inflated environment we're in. If you had to sell your stocks with the paper or however that goes down, what's the likelihood of you being able to liquidate in time amongst everyone else who don't have paper, but they're just in a pool of funds that say they own X amount of shares and such? If they try to liquidate, they're going to have problems getting out. If you got paper, trying to call up your broker or however it works, I would imagine it's going to be just as difficult. So at the end of the day, owning shares on paper, it's a claim to some stock in a company that the company themselves can go belly up. So That's one of the things where yeah, I'm not a financial expert advisor type of thing, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But just if you play out the worst case scenarios, I would anticipate nothing good coming from that holding a certificate of stock. And so let me see here. Dave Buckner on Facebook says, "Do food garage storages, but hey Mike, David from Detroit's West Side. What's up, David? How you doing, my friend? Put the 401k into gold. I hear you. So yeah, so there's ways of taking possession of your 401k. So in one of the links to the other videos, Perpetual Assets LLC, they do a good job of helping people take physical possession of their 401k into whatever asset class that is by law your right to be able to do. So that's another way. If you are wanting to do something a little bit more stable and secure, you can take possession of it at that point. Ishmael, how you doing? I lost you for a minute, Mike. Dexter, what happened? Disconnection or what? Talk to me. It says Bitcoin going 100,000. LOL Bitcoin. So watch this. So a computer programming someone created and we think is worth something. Purple sky. Okay, so let's touch on the cryptocurrency because that's option number 2. And so let me see here. So people can see it. Probably not because you can't see it. But option number 2. So out of everybody that chose the 5 options, 66% was overwhelmingly metals. And then 18% out of 300 people were cryptos, and then 3% stocks and bonds, 8% real estate, and 5% others. So appreciate everybody taking that survey. But of course, metals have become and will always be the primary hedge against all government liabilities, because that's all currencies are. They're government liabilities owed back to a private institution. So if everybody knew that, at the end of the day, anything denominated in a piece of debt instrument paper will have its issues. So it's going to be a day of reckoning because here's the thing, at the end of the day, we will not be pricing and valuing physical tangible items in dollars on an international stage. That's what this was led me to want to put this out here, because a part of this de-dollarization process will come a time where the world will have to recognize some other form of an international medium of exchange that has all the properties of money, store value, fungible, easily transferable, divisible, all that stuff like that. There's going to have to be something out there that the world's going to recognize, because at the end of the day, the Belt and Road Initiative will not be using Federal Reserve notes at all. And so in order to do trade with China, if you still want to get products to say made in India, made in China, made in Bangladesh, made in Thailand, they're not going to accept Federal Reserve notes anymore. So if you believe that, then having anything other than Federal Reserve notes will probably do you a little bit better than having the actual notes in your hand. And I say that because whether you're a crypto person or not, the Bitcoin, AKA the first cryptocurrency of its kind, I can see how there's so many bugs out there that say that Bitcoin is going to be, so having how many 13 people in the community said that, or 18 people in the community said that, 18% rather, that Bitcoin is their preferred choice. I can understand that because Bitcoin is not going anywhere. Bitcoin will be a hedge against Federal Reserve notes and every other national currency on this planet, because it has a very finite amount of coins that will be available from the original Bitcoin core program, algorithm, crypto, blockchain, open ledger source. There's only going to be 21 million of that particular one, of which a good portion are gone. Good portion are in the big whale wallets, so they're not going to come out no time soon. So it's going to be a finite supply. And anything that is of a minimum supply that has properties similar to what money has will be of value, because people are going to go to Bitcoin and a couple other altcoins. So believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be there because it has all the properties of money. And more importantly, they're scarce in totality of having 7-point-something billion people on this planet. So with that being the case, I wouldn't be so anti-cryptocurrency, because whether or not it's for us or not, it was probably created for a way for the extremely rich to transfer some of that paper nominal money to those coins, get us excited so they can preserve their wealth, more importantly. But those that go along for the ride, as long as you're not in Federal Reserve notes or Venezuelan bolivars or Argentina pesos, you'll be probably just fine, in my opinion. And so what else here? So as well, I got some people on Facebook. Let me know what's on your mind. Feel free to talk or ask some questions, or just go over to the YouTube channel and join that right there. Spirit King says, one EMP, goodbye BTC. Very true. One EMP, goodbye everything communication-wise. And then it'll boil down to, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. So that's why you probably wouldn't want to have your entire life savings in a digital blip. But it's going to rise. It's going to rise in value. That's how it is. Jerome, appreciate the love offer, my friend. It says, someday you won't be able to buy gold, silver with dollars. Very true. And so from what I've gathered in the alternative media space, there's already problems with a lot of big money individuals being able to get physical metals because depending on what part of the world you're in, like in Turkey right now, or in Iran, or in Egypt, or any of those countries having issues, the price of gold is significantly higher in their currency, just the spot price. So the spot price, I gotta find that website. There's actually the spot price, for example, in the Turkish lira is already greater than on average what it will be in comparison to the dollar. So say it's $1,300 here, an ounce of gold, the Turkish lira is down significantly. So it's more expensive to get an ounce of gold in Turkey. Then you factor in the premium, because you can tax people when something is already scarce and it's in demand. So that's going to eventually happen here. So because who in their right mind would exchange something that is going to be a sponge that absorbs the true price of gold? If you were to measure it in terms of how many pieces of paper and digits floating around this planet denominated or called dollars, the price of gold is clearly $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 an ounce, give or take, on a bare minimum. And so silver clearly is $600, $700 if it was normal measuring ways of taking accountability for all those notes and digits that are in circulation. It says, EMP and power outages as excuse are childish, for Bitcoin is worldwide to start. When the power goes comes back up, the rest of the world comes back up, catch up the rest of the world. Yeah. So Omniball. So yeah, I'm understanding of that. Power go out fine, but the power go out, it's not going to just come back on in a couple of days. It might go out, especially if it's a global thing. It's going to go off for a while, and we're going to have to adjust to life. Pre-electricity days. But yet, like always, mankind is able to adapt, and we'll make a way like we always have. Says Mike, you assume BTC will evaluate, but if the system collapses, its usefulness is reduced. BTC might do better than a dead dollar, but it's crazy to assume you'll still be able to buy as much with it. Spirit King, very true. So that's the thing. Like, apart from this new asset class coming into existence 10 years ago officially as a competitor to the Federal Reserve note and gold now, there's no telling what the price will be. But if we use the measuring of a single Bitcoin to what it's going to be considered, we're going to either measure it in a dollar or in a bar of gold. That's the only two measurements that we can have to measure a Bitcoin. And if you look at the last 10 years, just the trajectory. So if I was to have a graph like this to show you Bitcoin would start on this end right here at 10 cents, and Bitcoin, it peaked at 19,000. And so like right now it's, 3,000. But if you look at the trajectory of where that Bitcoin is going, it's going in this direction in terms of dollar terms. So we still value things in dollar. It's going to go this way. Now, if you now looking at dollar, you see where the dollar trend is going. So one is going this way, one is going to go that way. So which way would you rather go? This way or that way? And I assume you want to go that way. So if you measure it in dollars, it's going to always go up because there's going to be an unlimited supply of dollars coming. This next round of quantitative easing, which, I'm hearing more and more now about so if you haven't been, I'm sure you have, but if you've been listening to mainstream news a lot, or just catching who we got on TV nowadays. More economists, more money managers are coming out saying that they expect a recession in 2019. And so based upon videos I've done prior, the recession is already underway now. Recession is now. It just hasn't hit mainstream and it hasn't touched the markets yet. But when it hit the markets, we're going to see the response to the next recession is going to be inflationary more than likely, because they're going to have to find some funds from somewhere. And so Bitcoin, I would imagine, is going to catch that wave going up, and which is a clearly a sign that the dollar is going down. If you measure it in value terms, when Bitcoin goes up, that's a reflection in the dollar. The dollar is going down. Same with gold. So with that being the case, at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be very favorable for those that hold anything outside the Federal Reserve note. So holding a copper penny might do you better than holding a piece of paper when all things is said and done. It says, I have gold and silver from 2002 until now, saving. Good visual illustration, Mike. Appreciate it, my friend. Mike says, America will be the new Venezuela. Michael, man, we're no better, no different than, those millions of people down there that are suffering. So I wouldn't say that it's well beyond our ability to sustain it, because we're exporting debt to the world, and we're getting goods. So the moment no one wants to accept our treasury bills and bonds and notes, we won't be able to get anything this way, which means we're going to have to basically learn to survive or start doing stuff internally, which we no longer have the infrastructure to go back to a manufacturing base of producing things that say made in America on a tag. So we will need a universal basic crypto. I am of the belief that crypto is in our future from a legal tender standpoint. How that goes, I don't know, but we'll see. And so we got BTC, ATMs work. It says get verified. Spirit King. There's also titanium plate that one can put their private keys on. It's been sold for a while now. What about fire and EMP now? Yeah, so once again, if you can think of a worst case scenario, there's an entrepreneur out there now working on something to solve that problem. So any problems we can think about, there's a problem with cryptocurrency at this early phase, because 10 years is still early. Then there's going to be a solution for it pretty soon, which will just take away one excuse as to why it won't work. Because right now, electricity, and so those are all counterparty risks that I've mentioned before. So that's probably why I am on the skeptical side, but yet do believe in technology. So if I was to list my preferred mediums of hedge against the Federal Reserve note, of course, everybody know about the whole get your weight up here. Everyone here, for the most part, has gotten their weight up in some form of capacity in the last couple of weeks or days, I'm assuming. And so mine is, of course, metals. And then second will be cryptos. And then the fourth one is going to be land, like just having land. So I'm a big person that believe in having just, and especially in Detroit, just having vacant lots. That's my thing. Having physical land that you can set up shop on, especially in Detroit, because there's so much opportunity as far as the whole idea of redeveloping. So there's going to be, I think not before this recession aspect, but well after the recession, Detroit, as well as a lot of metropolitan cities that were once thriving, they're going to have some new life in them when and this is of course my opinion, but when our monetary system shifts and we go back to a manufacturing foundation of us producing stuff here, which will be a part of that new economy that's going to be a global thing, we're going to have to compete with our one belt, one road. And so, of course, it's going to be a matter of we can't outwork or our goods and services can't be as cheap as it is going to be coming out of India, Bangladesh, Thailand, all of them, that one belt, one road initiative. The goods are going to be nice and cheap. Then they're going to have labor down in Africa too putting together. They're doing that right now. So what are we going to have to do here? We're going to have to buy our own products eventually, which means that it's going to probably cost a bit more. But yeah, once again, we're going to have to buy internally because we may not have access to international markets because that whole, we got gold type of thing in Fort Knox and all that stuff like that. I don't really buy that. So I'm thinking that there's going to be a new currency issued domestically that's going to be for, just for commerce purposes for It's going to be crypto based, more than likely, issue a part of or through the banking sector for a trade amongst here. But on the international stage, they're going to have to, we're going to have something that's in that basket of currencies that's going to be recognized over in that One Belt, One Road area. And that might be metals or some other type of thing that, we definitely have land here where we can get back to mining and come up with that gold, but it's going to be a while. So, but having a domestic currency outside of a Federal Reserve note will definitely downgrade our standard of living, because we're going to have to devalue that currency as far as our goods and services, import and export. And so that's the whole currency war thing we're experiencing now. Somebody says Google Pay. Mike, I think you are saying it backwards. Tony, let me know, my friend. Give me the rundown. They're trying to mine asteroids for gold. Yeah, and that's the thing, like Jerome, I hear what they're talking about doing. Once again, is gold in an asteroid? I don't know. And so I would assume that it's probably not as plentiful as they may think it is, just because I'm of the creationist mind frame that God, values gold in the form of it's just something you walk on according to his word in heaven. So I doubt, he plastered the entire universe with gold as if it has value to anybody other than us here on earth. So I can't see gold being plentiful in Mars and the moon and all that, but it could be, but I don't think it would be needed there, because everything on a periodic table that we have already documented and found here on Earth is needed for the sustainability of the human race. And so, in the Earth, goes to all those minerals and all that stuff, minerals or whatever, and metals and stuff is stuff that's needed for humanity here. And so that's, if you believe in all the other stuff out there, then perhaps they may need it too. But I don't really go that far in saying that there's other life on other planets. It says life here. It says 232 petitions for uranium, 25% produced in the United States, going to a big spike upwards. Yeah, so when I had Rick Rule on a couple months ago, he's excited about uranium. He's like, he's big time, big wig in the uranium. He got his hands on a lot of things. So he was saying that if you can invest in uranium companies and things of that nature that has promise, monoatomic gold. And what is that one? Monoatomic gold. What is that about? On an asteroid, the gods to some created man to dig for gold. So what's to say no gold elsewhere? Right, that's true. I mean, I don't know, but yet, biblically speaking, which is my primary reference of how existence came into be, I have no reason to believe that there will be gold on another planet, because apart from it being a part of the Earth, that planet's crust and system, because outside of that, I mean, you think about how unique the planet Earth is in comparison to what we know about so far. And so we look at just how this Earth put together with, the atmospheres, the sun. I mean, all that stuff like that is not by coincidence, you know what I'm saying? To where, in the moon, I mean, the moon doesn't have all the necessary the usefulness that Earth has for mankind. So I would doubt that there's gold inside the moon, just because I don't think that would be needed or would be a part of the chemical makeup of that particular round sphere. So, but I don't want to get off to all astrology and creation is revolution, what is it called? Whatever that is. Yeah, that's another topic. Yes, this didn't just happen by coincidence. Yeah, this is all precisely. Yeah, we are uniquely and wonderfully made, my friend. We are part of a unique breed of individual. There's nothing like a human being on this planet, and that's the good part about it. It says, "Come on, man, space is fake. The Earth is flat. Look it up, you guys." Okay, Jay. We got low. The angels in the Bible are aliens. They just didn't know what to name them. Kron, BTC, fallen angels, man. They're spirits. They're spirits that have access to human bodies. And so so we go in biblical now. So if you go back and you look at just the archaeological findings of the what they call like the Philistines, for example, the Philistines that biblically documented were extremely tall, and they had deformed features like, long heads, big hands. And so I saw some pictures recently of people being found, the skeletons being found of extremely large individuals. That's not natural. I mean, that's not a part of mankind. That's not a part of what we have today. So I don't believe in evolution to where we've evolved and we all shrunk down to whatever our height is now. No, those are unique individuals that probably had some demonic type of DNA mixture that allowed them to perhaps grow to 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, however tall they were, and become somewhat monstery like, to where they were feared and revered amongst the population because they were a rare breed. How are you going to say monatomic gold is a hoax and fix your fingers to tight planets all full of diamonds? Spirit King. Yeah, that's the conversation y'all having. Technically, we are all fallen angels, which is why being born again is imperative. We're Universal Vibes TV. We're all fallen angels. No, man. Okay, so that's a interesting point there. But from a biblical standpoint, God only said that let's make man in our likeness and in our image. So in Genesis 2, I believe it is, it's very clear that we are made in the image and likeness of God. And so that then you got to wonder, what's the image and likeness of God? God is his image is a spirit. His likeness is that he is a king. He's an authority. He's a king, basically, at the end of the day. And so never once in the Bible does it refer to an angel as anything similar to those traits that were pronounced on mankind. It said that, and I think it's in the New Testament, that angels are servants of humans, are servants of mankind. So believers are going to judge angels in the next go round. So that they're one grade beneath us. So it's God, mankind, angels. Technically, we are a fallen angel, which is why we were okay. I missed that one. So I guess, or it could have been made up. What do you think about rhodium, Mike? Rhodium, I don't know much about it, other than just the fact it's on a periodic table. It's an element of some kind. I don't know much about it, but definitely if it's on the periodic table, it has value because it's a rare metal that only it comes from and is used for a certain amount of things. It's rare, which gives it value. So definitely, I don't know anything about it to point where I can say have it, own it, invest in it. I don't know, but yet it's rare. And so rarity in comparison to an abundance of notes is coming pretty soon. It's already in existence. You wouldn't go wrong. It says, dude, Neanderthals. There you go. Neanderthals, great little green. That's a good one. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Or I forgot to mention it, but that's what it's about. Angels do not have human DNA. Preach. If we are going to get on to the Bible, you are going to like me. You aren't going to like me. Tony, it's all love. That's the thing like that. It's not a right or wrong, man. Like, like wherever you stand, I love you anyway, man. Like it's all fine and good. And that's why the greatest thing about the whole spiritual concept is all done by free will. We all have a free will to believe or not. It's all fine and good. I'm not mad. When I was younger, I was a lot more zealous and trying to preach and hit the corners. And I dialed back just because I realized, God will God reveals himself to everybody at the end of the day. It's just a matter of not if your heart is open to receive or not. And, that's between you and your maker. And so I love you anyway, my friend. You're my guy. The red shield, you are God. We have God-like abilities, my friend. We have God inside of us. I personally, wouldn't go that far to call myself a God, but I am a son of a king in biblical terms. It says, I am that way. I like you too. I love. Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys, man. This is great, man. Great back and forth, man. But yeah, so tonight I just want to get on, man, just because I'm enjoying just these just pop your phone up type talks, man. I'm enjoying these because the RTD Live Talk streams require so much. I got to prepare so much. It's much different to be able to just sit down and just talk freely and have fun and go back and forth and get people engaged, man. And so, Jill, bring God into this. Yeah, God, and that's why this channel is different from every other channel that talks about this type of subject matter, because other channels will lead you to believe that if you're a believer, you got something to worry about. And I'm of the faith that God has already sealed the deal. We've already won. If you believe in the Bible, and if it's your point of reference, and if it's your guide for life, then you know what happens in Revelation. It's going to be some dark times, but those that are in Christ, shall have no condemnation. So we're going to be fine. And it's all about, and I'm gonna leave it at this one. It's all about our inheritance. The enemy is mad that we will inherit eternal life on a new earth and be rulers. I mean, that's the thing. Like, our enemy couldn't become a ruler, so he had to dethrone us by tricking Adam and Eve to doing what they did. Now here we are, plagued with sin. All this monetary stuff is a result of sin. Here's another note for you guys to think about. If you look at all the biblical references in the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and if you look at just how many encounters the saints or Christ had with people that were influenced by demonic spirits. Nowadays, we don't have, I haven't come across many, I don't know. Think about this. Think about in what industries or in what ways are demonic entities still influencing our daily lives. Because in the Bible, it'll make you believe that everybody was under influenced by a demon directly. Nowadays, I believe that the monetary powers that be are all under the influence of a force that's not for the people. And so I believe the monetary system is heavily influenced by the demonic realm, as well as the dark side of our government, things of that nature. So that's where I'm at on these days, where we have to realize that, the powers that be, the powers of this world, the evilness of this world is in those institutions that are up there too top, and all that stuff they be doing behind the scenes. That's pure evil. And so that's what all that stuff exists today. So that's what we're up against. Repractice the Pauline writings, not of God, but Paul. Pauline writings. So Tony, whether or not Paul wrote it, just, Paul was bored, sat down and wrote whatever came to his mind, could be an option, or it could have been divinely inspired. But if you think about what Paul wrote, at what point in the writings of Paul, who pretty much wrote all the New Testament for the most part. And so if you look at the transformation from Saul, where he was a murderer, he killed a good chunk of early believers because he was very zealous in the Jewish and Hebrew traditions of man, that he met Christ along the road to Damascus and was converted, and then had the wherewithal. I'm sure he wouldn't have wrote all that bad stuff about himself in that book. He probably would have painted himself in a much more favorable light, given that book, he probably didn't know it's going to last for, centuries or whatever. But I'm sure he'd have painted a different picture of himself initially, but he took pride in his sufferings. And so it's not too many people would be willing to die for a lie. By him preaching Christ, he basically put a death sentence on his life. And biblically, his life ended early for a lie. So that's where I always look at it like, most people would, that's the difference between, Islam and Christianity. Most people would fight for something everybody fight for something they believe in, but how many people are going to willingly fight for something they'll be willing to die for? And so, of course, we have a more radical version of Islam now but they're not doing it because of what they believe in. They're doing it because of what they're going to get from it, in my opinion. Whereas in Christians, we're told to just be ourselves, and persecution will come automatically. You know what I'm saying? So just being a believer, you're going to be persecuted. Okay, we got some scripture over here from Peter. It says, 2 Timothy, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that he convert God. Okay, man, there you go. First piece of scripture given right there. I like that. It says, this is not church, man. I'm here to get away from the crap. Why Jesus couldn't come to save poor people? Stop those King Spirit. Yeah, I know we did get a little far with it, but it's one of the things where, your spirituality, wherever you're at in your life, in your spirituality life, you can't avoid it. It's who you are, because it shows up in who you are as a person. People see who people see is a reflection of your beliefs. So anyway, but that's been the case, man. We almost an hour, so that was much longer than I was planning on speaking. I just wanted to get on to connect with you guys, man, and to get your thoughts on the survey. So clearly the results show that majority of the people here are all precious metals enthusiasts. And I like that, because I feel like, this is a place where we all can gather. And so, but I don't want to exclude the crypto people as well, because as I mentioned before, crypto has a place in comparison to what we're valuing up against. Because as I showed this demonstration here, we got the dollar going this way as far as it being devalued. And if you look at crypto as far as where it came from and where it's going to end up at in dollar terms, it's going that way. So we can hate on it or not. but it is what it is. And I feel bad because it looks like I forgot. It looks like somebody sent a super chat. I didn't acknowledge them. So I apologize for that if I missed somebody. But I thank you guys for tuning in this evening. And so definitely tomorrow night, we got some here. It says, Jerome, it says, government is insane enough to buy equities, too slow, Dow crash. Jerome, that's very true, man. So I think the central banks around the world, those that are not already buying, will be buying more equity. So that, this year, we're approaching the end of the first month of the year. And it's already been very interesting with the government shutdown and everything else in between. So I believe that, come February, we got a 3-week window of government being open, and we're going to find out what's happening in February. So get ready for an interesting February as well. I think every month this year is going to be very interesting as we draw closer towards the realization that the global economy is slowing down. And when it slows down, I think that sounds like a recession to me. But anyway, people, this has been good hanging out with you guys. Be safe, be blessed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. As always, if you guys come across any articles, as always, I encourage you to, in the comment section, attach them in the comment section so that I can keep people informed and we can stay connected and go from there, man. But other than that, everybody be safe, be blessed, and I'll see you guys later.